And go ahead, go ahead.
Good morning. It's nice to know you all. I'd just like to, that as an inventor and founder of our Makati Philippines, I also like to mention that being a member of the board of agriculture for many years now, I am promoting really young agriculturists. And I am happy with your objective. And Jeff, who is what I will introduce before later, is an example of that. But last night at 1 o'clock, 11 agricultural scholars of Mapicon just arrived from South Cotabato. 7 women and 4 men. They will be with us after sponsoring their scholarship for 2 years, because we started when they are in their 3rd year. They have not yet taken their agriculture's exam. So this will be our another big push of inviting young people to go into agriculture. And I learned from our DOIM awardee also, Mon, about joint ventures. This one in Tupi is a joint venture also with the school. And that's why we sponsor these scholars. I like to go into joint venture with them. And to me, that is the way how to go into it. I will talk more about that some other time. But today, it's enough to tell you that as a mentor, we have 7 innovations and inventions. As you know, 3/4 of the wealth of nations come from innovation. So we are distributing this later on. What are these innovations? That will be just for you to read. And another letter to distribute also about my story, including my love story, and then calendar, which you will distribute later on. Now, for my assignment, to introduce our guest speaker. The longest time we had with our guest speaker, Fernandez, of the Jelfarm, is when we were in Bangkok for 12 days. We were there together to visit farms, smart farms in Thailand, including okra farm. And I have been also to the operations of the Jelfarm, and we did even demonstration. That's one reason why I come. I want to follow up because there are 2 things that I feel will benefit all agricultural projects. That is our powdered botanical insect growth regulator. Is the most economical but effective for all insect pests. And the other one, which I saw also, an improved AM from IGA, but we call it Mapicon bioactivated carbon with 54 microorganisms. This is also the most economical way to fertilize naturally your crop. So that's why I come, because I just like to emphasize this. Now, for we were there for 2 weeks and visited, and it was very productive. We learned how the government of Thailand take care already of their farmers, and they really go to the farm and teach them even how to package already, to market it already internationally. That is one thing we have observed coming in here. And then also doon sa kay Jeff, which we will talk more later on, talagang mahusay yung quality control nila. And it is impressive. And they have to produce it at the right time, at the right season, because ang okra is only good for a certain period. After that, and then he give you 1 kilo of seeds. I told him, I'm eating practically okra every day. It's a very good vegetable. I like to promote okra eating. And as a matter of fact, if you talk about rice, I do not eat rice anymore. I just eat malunggay, okra, and some soup, malunggay soup. No more rice. And it is good for health, and I am eating years old, going to 83, because of malunggay, I am healthy. So that is one way of telling you that the invitation, making our guest speaker, because that is an example of a young farmer. By the way, Jin here, who is is a friend of Jeff. I'm happy he's here now to also promote agriculture. I'm really happy that this forum promotes young people. And I'd like you to know that please tell your friends it is worthwhile to take up agriculture. There is money in agriculture. And I have many inventions to make it easy for young people to work in the farm. Let me just emphasize one point. The reason why people do not go to agriculture, including myself, is because of the hot weather. You don't want to be like Filipinos. But I have established a greenhouse concept using bananas. That is the cheapest greenhouse. Even in the US, they are promoting now greenhouse for the young people. And I have that concept, and I told them that is where I plant the okra under, oregano, and so on. So later on, you will learn more about okra farming from Jeff and how he makes his business profitable. I saw this also that he has another one that he will go into later on about idami, vegetable soybean, which is another favorite for the Japanese. And then I just want to tell you that Dito Naguaco, he is a graduate of culinary arts in California School. So it is my pleasure and to welcome our resource speaker today, Mr. Jeff Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Katan, for such a warm welcome. Thank you to the MAP ABCDF Foundation.
Can we have, excuse
for
me,
having me here.
can we have another round of applause, please? Give them more.
Yeah, so, as Mr. Katan said, I grew up in the US, lived there about 15 years of my life. I'm 35 now. And 6 years ago, I came back here to help my dad operate this company. So our company name is Jelfarm Fresh Produce, and our main product is okra. People are asking why okra, every time they meet me. To be honest with you, I don't really have the answer for that. I think
It's money. It's money.
my dad was initially involved in the onion business. He was one of the biggest players of onions export from Philippines globally back in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, he switched to okra. So now our company's been operating for 10 years now. We hold about 350 to 400 hectares of land, and we plant that 6 to 8 months out of the year. Gross sales is about $8 million per season. And we employ about 150 farmers, and they have about 3,000 to 4,000 workers. So we are based in Tarlac City, and everything is exported. So now we're trying to figure out how to penetrate the local market with our B grade, because now everything is just all for export. So we're in the transition to frozen goods. We will be processing that with my hopefully future partner John with Soul Fruits. So we're gonna have a few new lines maybe in the next few years. We'll be tying up with him in mango and dragon fruit, and then as well as calamansi puree. And then we're going to be moving into the transition of producing edamame, also for export. So, right now everything's for export, but hopefully in the near future we're going to start seeing, the domestic market come to evolve. So that's pretty much the background of our company. As far as me coming into this company, I grew up in the States, went to high school, college there, became a chef. And then 6 years ago, I didn't see my father for about 12 years. And then he visited me 6 years ago in the US. Me and my father have always been, we've always had a really good relationship. Phone calls, emails, we're always touching base with one another, but we just didn't physically see each other for 12 years because of work and the busyness of life and stuff like that. So then 6 years ago, he came to visit me. We had a great time as always. And then after a month of him coming back, he called me and asked me and said, "Wala ka bang plano mo sa Pilipinas?" And I said, for people that don't understand Tagalog, they say, "Do you have any plans to come back to the Philippines?" I said, "No, Pops, I'm good. I have a good life here. I'm a chef. I've established my name, and I'm upcoming and stuff like this." And he said, "Well, I want to retire, and you have to come back." So, being a good son, I packed up my whole family within the next month and moved here. At that time, me and my wife had 2 kids. One was 7 and one was 2. Which I can relate to your love story because she's also American. So within 1 month, without consulting my wife, I said we're moving to the Philippines. So she's never been to another country ever, except Hawaii. So that was kind of a hard transition for her. So finally, after 6 years, she's good. And then now we also have 2 more kids. So now we have 2 girls and 2 boys. So with that being said, during this transition, after a year that I came back, we found out that my father had stage 3 colon cancer. So with me just kind of breaking into the business and learning the business, and here we are, just found out about this horrible news. So I remember him telling me when he was laying down and before he was going to proceed with his operation. He told me, he said, "Jeff, whatever it is, whatever you have to accomplish, make sure God is number 1 in your life and trust in Him, and He will give you wisdom and guidance." So I said, "Okay, pa, I'll just try to do what you did and try to, set goals and accomplish goals, because our procedure in the factory, we don't stop for about 8 months. So every single day, starting the 3rd week of September, we're harvesting daily. It doesn't stop. Holy Week, Christmas, New Year's Eve, our factory is operating, 10 to 12 hours per day. So that couldn't stop. So for me, I was pretty much thrown in the fire. But being as a cook back in the U.S., I was always in the fire anyway. So I had to adjust and adapt, to whatever it is that I had to pull through with. So I went through a whole season without him because he had to recover and all this stuff. I didn't want to bother him too much because he's also diabetic, so the healing process it took a while. But my mom was there. We have a great relationship, so we would exchange phone calls, and she would always tell me, she was like, "Just did what your papa did." And I was like, I don't know what that is. So obviously, with prayer and guidance from him, everything went through. So after that year, he recovered. He's now super healthy. Thank you, Lord. But now I run about 80% of the business now. So I guess that was kind of a test, for me, my character, my faith, and to really push through and enjoy the business and help out the community. So that's why I always try to encourage the younger youth and the new generation, because our generation, people think that farmers are riding the bug carabaos and, with the straw hats and the mud and all that stuff. But, honestly, it's a very humble, it's a very humble craft, that's been passed down from decades, generations, and it's slowly dying. So that's why I'm always trying to push for the youth to get involved with the farmlands and see, with the new development technology, combination of that, there's, a lot of money to be made, and plus we can boom our economy because, a few decades ago we were actually number one in agriculture here in the Philippines, and then obviously Thailand and Vietnam and Indonesia and all these countries started, overpassing us. I don't really want to say, I don't want to blame the government because, it's not really the government's fault that, we're not really, moving in the right direction, but it's actually within ourselves, because of the stigma and the image that is put on the farmers. So with me, I'm developing, now we have 150 farmers and 30% of that are their kids. Here they are, their dads were riding carabaos and here they are riding Fortuners in the field, So, it's about that time that, our generation can really impact the future generations and the generations to come because, it's really not about the image, it's about, people think it's a stature thing or it's a status thing, but, I tell you, farmers, the image that we need to put to young farmers now is to become millionaires because there's a lot of money to be made in the farming industry. So that's my main purpose and my main goal now, for the future. So it's kind of it's still a tough position to be at, but as soon as there's a lot of people that make the movement, make the impact in the future, then there's definitely a lot of young youth that can really see the potential, in this industry. So that's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Can you walk us through the process of your okra production?
Yes. So we're dealing with Japan, which is one of the strictest countries in the world to, as far as export is concerned, is for fresh vegetables, fresh and fruit vegetables. So what we do, we have from 8 to 5 p.m. That's when okra is being harvested, except lunch times. But by 5 p.m., the okra has to be delivered to our factory. So every hour, the farmers are delivering their crates, and we're weighing them, putting traceability codes, making sure how many, the weight count, stuff like that. And then we process it through washing system. We use like an RO system, so it's like mineral water. We have temperatures, chlorine, food grade chlorine to disinfect it. So by the time the last harvest is delivered around 4:35, the okra is already processed by weight, sizing, type of packaging, bundled into bundle boxes, and then it leaves our factory about 8 to 9 p.m. In the airport, Clark within an hour, Manila in 3 hours. So if it's in Manila, the airplane leaves about 1 a.m., hits Japan around 5, and then they process it, make sure it goes to customs, and it's on the shelves already after that. So we're pretty really to farm to, to grocery store to table concept. That's how we're processing the okra right now.
How about the production of the farm itself? What's the size of the farms? What's the arithmetic?
So now we go through 4 stages of different planting. So initially we'll start with like 50 plus hectares. That will be in first week of July planting. and it takes about 60 to 70 days in the rainy season to start harvesting. So after that, once you start harvesting, you can harvest for 75 days every day. 1 hectare can yield about one ton to 2 tons, depends on the output of the farm and how you manage the farm. So it depends really on the farmer. So our average weight that we're processing in the factory is about 15 to 20 tons per day, and that goes into 4 trucks, maybe 3 to 4 airplanes. So every shipment is all by air. We don't do freight, sea freight shipments. So for income wise, initially it's about 150,000 per hectare. For fertilizer, chemicals, land rental if you don't own the land, and then which the company supports the farmer, so we finance about 80% of that. Each hectare, you can income about, the lowest is about 60,000 pesos, and the max is about 200,000 per hectare.
Is it per month?
No, that's
cycle?
within 75 days of harvesting.
Okay.
So about 2 months.
2 months.
2 months, yes.
That's only with gross.
Yes, that's gross.
And what is their cost?
No, that's already after you take away the production advances. That's net. That's net already.
Okay.
So that's how much the farmers will make. It really depends on actually the care of the farmer onto their land. If they're really, making sure everything's on time, fertilizer, production status wise, they can really make a lot of money.
So these are contract farmers.
Yes.
How many do you have? How many?
Now we have 150 contract growers.
In how large in hectarage?
About 400 hectares of land.
400 hectares. So per farmer, that's about what, 2 hectares? You want 2 hectares per farmer?
Yes. We tried, some farmers can manage bigger hectares. Some farmers can only manage a few hectares. So it just depends on the capability of the farmer. So we assess them first. If they're new farmers, we assess them, see what their capabilities are. Then we start them off initially 1 hectare per farmer. If they can take care of it and manage it properly, then we keep adding and adding. So it just really depends.
What are the components of your cost? You said, is it 180,000?
150,000. Yeah, per hectare.
What are the components?
The land rental, if you don't own the land, and then farm input, so fertilizer, chemicals, pesticides, labor, land preparation. So just to cultivate the soil, and then you have to hire the people to seed it, because everything is, the only mechanical stage is the land preparation, but everything else is all by hand, all manual.
Okay, what are the problems?
What are the problems? Number 1, weather. That's probably the only problem. I mean, infestation, yes, of course. There's insects that are kind of immune to certain chemicals that we've been using throughout the years. So that's why we wanted to tie up with Mapicon and figure out new ways, not chemical, but more on we're going towards the greener side. So organic. So now our operation is kind of 60% chemical, 40% organic. So we're trying to move more forward to the organic side.
These farmers, individual farmers, you supervise them?
Yes. Well, we have a team. I have a field supervisors. We have field technicians. Some graduated from Tarlac University, which I support you guys. Thank you. We have a team that handles field operations. But me personally, yes, I do. I like to go and see the farmers and visit them. 3-4 times a week, see the farms. But
and these farms are all contiguous to your processing area.
Yes.
Covering a total area of how large?
The maximum area that we want to plant is about 15 kilometers from the processing plant.
Radius.
Yeah, radius wise.
From-
That's just because, the product needs to be close to us. We need to be able to manage it properly, touch base with it, because every day, the field technicians are going to the field, making rounds. So,
Can you please tell them how you pay the farmers? There are those that you just charge them for pest control and others, fertilizer. And how do you pay them?
To repeat, I just like Jeff to share with our listener audience how you really pay the farmers.
yes. So the farmers, we pay them by the box. It's 135 pesos. It's a 4-kilo box. So that's net weight. So I think it's about like 35 pesos per kilo or something like that. Or maybe more.
How do you assure quality control?
Well, assurance for quality control, we have a process. So we are HACCP accredited by SGS, GMP, ISO. So we have to keep a certain standard as far as quality is concerned. So it goes through a washing process first, and then we sort them by sizes and weight. And then after that, it goes through our QC section, which we examine in magnifying glasses. We want to make sure there's no bugs, no blemishes, no black spots. All the sizings are perfect. All the cut portions are, cut properly. So it's very.
Jeff, again, Jeff, yung 135 pesos per so much?
Yes, one box.
Do you subtract there the cost on share of the cost of pest control fertilization?
Yes. So the farmers will be delivering every week. Every day. So every Fridays is when we distribute money. So that's when we pay them. So what happens is that the company finances about 80% of the expenses, and then every week in their sales, we deduct about 35% of what they owe us every week. Depends. Sometimes when their plants are harvesting really high, then and we know the farmer's making money, then we talk to them. Hey, can we deduct a little more, 40%, 42%, just so we can collect the balances quicker. But we make sure that they have enough money that they can rotate throughout the week, and then we just deduct it to the next following week. So it's kind of it's a really nice system. It's very friendly. For them, they're making money. They're having income every single week. So it's been working throughout the years. The only problems we run into, if there's a natural disaster, as far as weather is concerned, then majority of our crops get washed out. So we can't. That's the agriculture business.
Yeah, may I know if you're giving the farmers the seeds, the inputs, and then you provide the pesticides as well? I suppose you do, because you said that 80% of the cost is handled by you. So there are specified seeds that you provide to the farmers. And what are these? These are given by the Japanese or specified by your importer?
Yes, actually, the seeds, before we came to this variety, we had a few experiments of different varieties. We experimented Taneko, which is a Japanese seed, the Indian variety, the Taiwan, and then we came with this one. It's from Taiwan. It's from No New Seed Company. It's called the name of the seed is called Greeny. That's a variety of the okra that we're growing.
What do you call that?
Greeny. Greeny, like Greenie. So
Sorry, is this the one that's short and
Yes.
green, very green?
yes,
Not the light green and long?
no,
Okay.
deep dark green, small,
Okay.
small ones.
Okay, thank you.
So we found out that one was the best one because Taiwan is already producing this seed variety in Taiwan. So Philippines and Taiwan have similar climates. So what we do here is we buy the F1, which is a first generation seed in Taiwan, and then we hybrid it to become F2 here in the Philippines. The purpose of that is because we want to acclimate the seed to the temperatures that we're, the temperatures that we're farming in Tarlac. Because if you grow it somewhere else, it might not be so productive. But for some reason, Tarlac is the capital okra growing of the Philippines. So we're about 5 players in the okra industry, and 4 of them are in Tarlac.
All for export.
All 4 export. One is Dole in Mindanao, and they didn't make it. And
Oh, so what is the process of upgrading from one to the next stage?
It's not really an upgrade. It's kind of pretty much acclimating the seed to become used to the environment that we're planting here in the Philippines. Because if you would plant the first generation seed from Taiwan in direct planting here, it's not going to be so productive, and it's more cost effective.
These five firms are all involved in processing.
Yes, all processing.
Okra processing.
Yes.
And how transferable is this technology to other parts of the country?
We're very open to exchanging technology. There's some stuff that we try to keep secret. Not so much. But like I said, Dole was competing with us, and they have the best technology, the world could say, right? So, but for them,
That's in South Cotabato.
yeah, Cotabato. So, but they weren't very successful.
Why?
A lot of quality issues. Maybe it's the first time they kind of ventured in that type of vegetable. But I can imagine Dole is yeah, also the soil, so.
And how about the seeds? Can you start producing them locally, at least for food security risk considerations?
Yes, of course.
So you have started producing it locally.
Yes.
Oh,
But we plant our own seeds.
okay, and then with respect to the seeds, this has more pectin than the local ones that are grown.
It's just a different variety. The local one is a different seed. It's the same as an okra seed, but it's just a different strain. So that's the main issue why it's very hard and fibrous.
Why is that so? Why is the plant so gooey?
I don't know, because the ones that we're growing, it's not slimy at all. Yes.
We use that for okra nato.
Yes. Yeah. It's not very slimy at all.
Right.
So
Sir, I want to share something about it because we've been trying also to breed okra seeds for export, and because this okra type of Japanese type of okra has 5 angles, but in our local market we only have this smooth type, so we call it the smooth type. So the Japanese type is more, I think it's more delicious, I can say. And then you can consume it about for 7 centimeters of the fruit, and it has less mucilage, it's less slimy, and it's more tender because you harvest it young. So yun po. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, we are doing breeding. We are trying to breed the local type because on our interview with the farmers in Tarlac, sir, the F1 hybrid of breeding costs around 9,000 per kilo. And you need about 10 to 15 kilos per hectare. So the cost is about 100,000, 150. And that is much for the farmers. So they're using the F2 seeds and the F3 seeds. But then the F2 and the F3 seeds, we call it segregating. So they have different sizes. They have the different qualities. So what we do is we will be trying to improve this type. So when the farmers will get the seeds in uniform. So they will get the uniform plants without being the hybrid one. So we call it the open pollinated varieties. So hopefully, Jelfarm will be open for this technologies later on. So right now we are still on the initial stage, and maybe if you will be open for trying all of these things later on. So we will be very glad to help the local farmers and also to promote this because you mentioned earlier that you will be trying also to promote it locally. Tama po?
Yes.
And hopefully po, kasi po this Japanese type of okra is masarap. And hopefully the local market will also accept this. Pero right now, many of the consumers are still not familiar about it. So kayo po hindi po familiar, pero masarap po yun. And
You're talking of the export variety?
yes po.
Not the local.
Yes, po.
What's wrong with the local variety? Yeah.
Si Sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes po.
Okay. Yeah.
Jeff gave me 1 kilo of their seeds. So I planted it in Alaminos, Laguna. And of course, for family use, but we are plenty, we are many. We are at least 35 in the family group together. And I told Jeff that, you know, your okra, we are able to grow it without any pest control, without any fertilization. Of course, the explanation is that my whole farm is only 3.4 hectares, are all with earthworms all over the place. And then the pest control, baka takot because it's mapicon, they do not go there. Anyway, walang pest control, and even the weeds, because we plant it in such a way that the leaves, the broad leaves, walang sun, so no weeds. And even if there are weeds, I also plant oregano who can grow under. And so no weed management. But I told Jeff, I will not tell you exactly because I cannot sell anymore by pest control and fertilizer if I tell you so. But the thing is, one thing I told him, matagal maubos because I grow ratoning also. After the first harvest, I cut it and it grows again and produce still. And Jeff told me that will be only maybe for 2 or 3 times. After that, the production is not much anymore. So, okra, I'd like to share with you, can be ratoon. And another thing, why it is good,
Can be what?
ratoon, meaning you cut it, it will grow again.
Okay.
Okay? And what is good is you have to harvest it at the right time. Because if you harvest it a little late, makunat na. I'm using it Japanese because that is his seed. And boy, masarap talaga. All you do is bagoong with the vegetable, as I mentioned kanina. Ay nako, it's very, very nutritious.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to answer on that? No, that's it. Yeah. Right.
Are you working with Harvest?
Yes, we're actually working with Harvest. Mr. Sir Toto Barcelona.
Are you also retailing those seeds now? It's being retailed by
No, actually, for us, we just produce our own. We never thought of, tapping into the domestic market. I might upset a lot of people in the seed company. So we just do it for ourselves, for our production.
But are they available from the seed companies?
Yes, actually, I think Non-U has, but Harvest also has.
I think in the local market, it's not too acceptable because it's green and short. I think the local market would want long ones and a little softer.
Yeah.
The ones with the big seed. But eventually, we see it in the Japanese market. But I would say even the local produce are still just as good. It's a matter of cooking it. You're a culinary expert, I think. It's a matter of how it's cooked. The local ones are already available and they have seeds available. I think accessing a more expensive seed variety is going to be hard for the small farmers. So I really don't know, but it's both good and it's all good that we're trying to see all varieties.
I'll tell you an experience that I had ran into 2 weeks ago. So we just stopped our production. Our shipments were done. That's why I couldn't bring any okra today. Sorry about that. But I gave away 20 tons of okra to Lawrence Patis. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that company. They're one of the biggest distributor for vegetables in the domestic markets. Out of 20 tons, maybe only 5 tons was consumed. And we gave it for free. And everybody that was selling the okra, their only complaint is they can't sell it. Because the image of the consumer, they want the long ones because they think they get more yield. But they didn't think that if you get 5 long ones, you can get 12 small ones. So they weren't really, they're not sure yet. So one of our projects next year is to continue to see how we can penetrate the local markets. Because number one, the chemicals that they use for the native variety has no limits. So they're spraying very high toxic chemicals on these native variety ones that they're selling to the markets. Us, we can barely spray green label chemicals. So we're already producing it, and our waste is about 20% per day. So if I'm producing 10 tons, 2 tons is we're donating it to the piggeries, to the chicken farms, and to the home shelters. So I told my friend, because let's just try to distribute it in the domestic market.
Yeah, I think it'll be good if you can do okra soup. It's so good. And you slice it very thinly and you serve it with shrimp. It's so very good. And I'd like to go back to the edamame. Are you also producing the edamame?
Yes, actually, we did a trial shipment. It's just small volume. We just needed to see if the seeds can grow here, because we're also getting the seeds from Taiwan.
I see. We are growing it. There are edamame varieties in the Batangas.
Yes,
It's called utao.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Uh-huh.
Yes, when I did my talk with Harvest, with Sir Toto, everyone was messaging me on Messenger, showing me their plants, and then Sir, when is my export? Yeah, so it's a different variety. So we're dealing with actually Taiwan has such a strong hold in the edamame seed, because they're exporting about $80 to $90 million of edamame per year globally.
100 grams is 90 pesos in the local Japanese market.
Yes, so it's very expensive. So that's why we were able to get the seeds, through the Taiwan embassy here in the Philippines, and we were working with the former mayor of Candaba, Mayor Jerry Palayo. He's very big in agri. He has a group called Aguila. So with his help in the Taiwan embassy, we had to go there. And then finally, we were able to import the seeds. So starting January, we're going to go full production with the edamame. So this will be the first ever in the Philippines.
Okay. Yeah, okay, go ahead.